You know, here we are midsummer here in Iowa, and I'm just out doing some scouting, glassing deer, kind of taking an inventory of what I've got, and doing it from a distance. I've got one of the new Alpen spotting scopes. It's a 20 by 60, but one of the things I really like about this, it comes with a tripod, and it's got micro adjustments, so it's real easy to zoom in and move around and find those animals. But basically, this is a great tool to help me manage the farm all year round. If you're looking for a great way to do some scouting, do it in the evening from a distance with a nice spotting scope. Let's talk a little bit about Alpen and Bresser optics. Now they have a full line of optics, but what I want to talk to you now about is rangefinders. They have several different varieties of handheld rangefinders and the new bow rangefinder. Now for you bow hunters, you go ahead and sight in at 20 yards and you calibrate it to your 20-yard pin, and when you're at full draw, whatever you're pointing that 20-yard pin on an object, it'll tell you the yardage. So whether you like a handheld or you want to put one on your bow, we have both options for you here at Alpen and Bresser Optics. You know, good optics are a must for a hunter. The new Alpen Tetons. They're lighter, they're better in low light, excellent glass. You'll be hard pressed to find that glass for under $1,000. Everything that you would want in a pair of optics. I know what I'm looking for, and once I know what I'm looking for and find what it is, that's what I'm interested in buying. The bottom line is they're affordable, they're lighter, and they're great in low light. The new Alpen Tetons. Another deer coming out. Hey, I'm Rick White, and welcome to On the Hunt with Alpen Optics. And I want to, I've got some special guests tonight, Tom and Landon Miller from Wisconsin with their buddy Drake Gazda, I guess. And we're going to talk to them a little bit about some shed hunting. And don't forget, at the end of the show, our weekly special. Welcome back. So our guests tonight, Tom and Landon Miller and Drake Gazda. Tom, how you doing? How you guys doing?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Good. Well, hey, listen, I know there's three of you there, and Tom, I'm going to let you introduce everybody and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Tom Miller. I was the vice president of North American Shed Hunters Club for 17 years, and just a shed hunting enthusiast, outdoor fanatic, and just like get involved in everything you can do in the outdoors. This is my oldest son, Landon. I have four boys myself. Youngest is 4 years old. This is Landon. Landon's turning 13 here this summer. And this is his real good friend, Drake Gazda. And we'll talk a little bit later on here about our trip to Montana, but we took Drake along, and that was his first time getting out doing some real serious shed hunting. So he had a new experience for him, but I think he had a really good time and learned some things. Maybe he can share some of those experiences with our viewers.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Now you're, like I said, you're from up in Wisconsin, and I know personally that Wisconsin has some pretty good deer, and I think you're right in the heart of deer country. How is your deer population with CWD and EHD and everything that's going on?
Pretty good. I mean, our numbers are up here locally extremely high. But like I said, there are some areas that have been real aggressive with the CWD, trying to get those numbers down and in check. And Wisconsin's always had just an intense deer population. So, you figure we put 600,000 hunters in the woods, 60. I mean, it's just, like I said, hunting here in Wisconsin is kind of the backbone. And, the amount of deer that we have in Wisconsin, it's really hard to keep it in check sometimes. So obviously, CWD and some of the other diseases that we had to deal with, we're trying to keep those areas and those problem areas as under control as we can.
we having a little glitch on some of the audio there, Paul? Is that the signal I'm getting? Yeah. It gets this is live, and we always have a few little difficulties, and we're trying to get it all worked out. But so Tom, I know you're a shed hunting fanatic, and I've got some buddies that shed hunt every day they get an opportunity to. Me myself, I've done a little bit, but let's talk about for the average shed hunter out there that wants to go out and find more sheds. And you obviously have some secrets on, is it bedding areas, is it travel routes, is it where they're jumping fences, is it food sources? Where are you finding a majority of your sheds, and what time of the year do you feel is the best time to start looking?
Well, obviously, depending on what parts of the country you're in. I mean, obviously, the shed seasons really change a lot depending on where you're at. Here in Wisconsin, usually February and March are usually our peak times, depending on when the snow gets off the ground. If you get down into Iowa and Kansas, Missouri, they're usually a little ahead of us down there. And the western states are a lot of times a little behind us, but some of that's depending on the weather. If you got 2 feet of snow on the ground, it's pretty hard to go looking for sheds. So, a lot of it's, you kind of got to research your own area. But like I said, if I had to pick a month nationwide to really go with, March is probably a standard month. You could really go and find sheds just about anywhere in the country. So like I said, you kind of got to do your own research for your own area. But like I said, if I had to pick a month to get out and get it, it would be March.
Yeah, I was just out in Kansas turkey hunting just last week, and actually saw a half rack buck still running around with one side. So you get that odd one every now and then. But here at the house, and living in Iowa here, all mine shed back really in pretty much in February. So you're right, spot on with that. Now, there's some different organizations, I think, some shed hunting organizations, and I believe maybe you belong to some of those. Do you want to talk briefly about some of that, or?
Yeah, the North American Shed Hunters Club, I was directly involved in it for 17 years, and we got a new group running it right now. I'm still doing a lot of the promotion, helping them out as much as we can. But that's the official records keeping organization for shed antlers. And a lot of people didn't realize that there was even a record book for sheds, and something that they got started back in the early 90s. Up in Minneapolis, there was a really famous buck called the Minnesota Monarch. I was lived in an area where there was very little hunting available, and they were finding sheds and seeing this thing all the time. So it was really nice to get that deer recognized and put in the record book and to this day, it's one of the largest whitetails to ever walk the face of this earth. And so, like I said, they started a record book. We work hand in hand with Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett. We use the same scoring system as them. And it's just a really nice way to give recognition to these true trophies. And so a lot of these deer, they don't get harvested. So, they don't really ever get that real score unless it's on the shed end of things.
Right. Now here in Iowa, we have some shed auctions. You can actually go to auctions and buy sheds, and people sell them by the pound. They sell them by the set. Is that something that happens kind of United States wide, or are we just one of the few?
Well, antlers, yeah, it's one of the questions people I say, what do you do with these things? You collect and collect and collect, and they do have a very significant monetary value. A lot of the auctions right now are being dominated by the high fence antlers. The fair chase antlers obviously have an extreme value, significant difference than something off a game farm. And so, I'm not a big fan of the antler auctions. Like I said, they really get inundated with game farm antlers, and it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between the fair chase and something off a game farm. And I think that's one of the biggest threats that we face in the whitetail industry, hunting industry, not just whitetails, is these game farms and the significance that they're having right now in the hunting world. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of them at all. Like I said, the disease and stuff that can go along with them, and like I said, these game farms will have a monster non-typical, and how do you put that against something that's running around in the fair chase world? So. But like I said, the antler auctions do dictate, a lot of what's going on, and there's a lot of drive to find these antlers for that reason alone.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear you say that, Tom, because I'm not a real big fan of them myself, and kind of a little bit for a different reason because of the value of antlers here, at least in Iowa. Because of that value, what I find is more, and I hear it all the time, and it happens on my place all the time. But I have shed hunting poachers religiously every year. You know, I wait until the first part of March because I don't want to go out and bump these deer until I know they've all dropped, and I base that on my camera photos and that kind of thing. And, 8 times out of 10, when I get out there, I find boot tracks already have gone through the ground. And it's very frustrating. So I recommend people, and maybe you've got a good tactic, but, leave your trail cams up after shed season, because that's the only way sometimes you're going to catch these people that are out there, walking your property before, well, first of all, without permission, but before you get a chance to walk it yourself.
It is getting one of the biggest problems we have. Like I said, we are our own worst advocate here because we promote shed hunting. And then, like I said, then we go out west and find out that ranches that we've been hunting for years now have been, they're leasing out them land ranches for shed hunting purposes. But the pressure that shed hunting can put on the herds is very significant, especially in the western states. We talked a little bit about these shed hunting seasons that are actually getting incorporated in some of these areas. The Gunnison area of Colorado, the Jackson Hole area of Wyoming. They actually have seasons where you can't go into those areas until like May 1st, I think is the date, except for a lot of them. And they've actually, we were watching the Wardens the other night, the TV show, and they were actually talking about the shed world, and they've been taking elk antlers and they've been putting microchips in them and basically waiting for people to pick them up before the season starts, and then going right to their house and writing them tickets. The pressure they put on these animals is so intense. There's stories of the snowmobilers chasing them to try and get the elk antlers to fall off. And like I said, it's almost kind of disturbing, really. These are refugees for these elk to survive these very, very rough winters. And the worst part is shed season is at their probably most vulnerable time. They're just trying to get through the last few weeks of winter. And like I said, the more pressure you put on them, it's not going to help them health-wise. And like I said, you talk about that they're driving those animals off of your property. And if you're trying to do the right thing by keeping them there, and they get in there and drive them away, that doesn't do any good either. So.
Right. Now, one of the questions, and we're going to get the boys involved here in just a few moments,
Yep.
but one of the questions I get asked a lot is, when a deer drops a shed, and obviously it depends on whether they're dropped in a picked cornfield or a set aside field or in the woods, but how long do they last before mice and squirrels and other animals get a hold of them and devour them? I filmed not too many years ago, I actually filmed a squirrel that had a pretty decent shed, about 40 feet up in a tree, had it up in the tree chewing on it. So they obviously do get some, but how long do they last? Do you have an assumption on that, or?
Well, in the Midwest here, it's a little different. Obviously, you're in Iowa, so you're seeing it firsthand. The mice and squirrels are, they're villains. They get after them. We actually do a little fun thing here. We go save a shed, shoot a squirrel, we call it. We had T-shirts made up. We do a big shit squirrel hunt every fall to try and harvest some of these varmints. But this is a perfect example of what would have been a massive set, and like I said, just totally destroyed by some squirrels or mice. The western states they don't seem to be as much a problem. Porcupines will get after them a little bit, but we very seldom find antlers in the western states to do it up. But man, is it a problem here in the Midwest? And but I think you can find antlers that have laid for 2-3 years here in the Midwest and haven't been touched. So there really isn't a definite theory to it either. But they fall in the right place. I wouldn't say they'd last more than a week or two in some situations.
Gotcha. Landon, Drake, let's get you guys in here a little bit now. Maybe both of you. You guys are into sports, I understand. Is that correct?
Yep.
What do you play?
I play football, wrestling, and baseball.
There you go. I played football in high school. It's been a few years ago, but my knees are still good, so that's good. And what about you there, Drake?
In the fall, and then wrestle, and then play baseball.
Good. Okay. Now, what you guys have been shed hunting for
for quite a while. And if I know Tom, he's probably got you guys running through the briars looking for those hard to find sheds. But what do you guys enjoy about shed hunting? And you can both tell your stories one at a time.
You going first? Okay, Landon, go ahead.
Well, what really gets me excited is hiking with the family. And when the thing is that even if one of your family members finds them, you should still be happy for them. And even if it's a nice one, think that could have been somebody else's, and that's now in your family, and they got a nice shed.
There you go. Great.
But boy, I tell you, Rick, it gets really competitive out there with him, his three brothers and Drake and all them. So as much as I believe that, I think there's a competitive end there.
Go ahead, Drake.
Like you said, the hiking out in Montana was really cool. Never been out that way. Good scenery, and best part is probably coming up on some of the biggest sheds that I've ever found in my life, and being able to hold them. And thankful for Tommy done for me.
Yep. Now, you guys being in Wisconsin, you boys do any fishing at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a little bit of walleye fishing up in your neck of the woods, I think.
Right now, it's pretty all the time.
I've got a good buddy of mine that is a shed hunting nut for my area. He finds over 100 sheds every year, just in kind of in his area, and he's got a really good shed hunting dog. And I don't know if you've experienced hunting sheds with a dog, but I'm sure you know all about it. Tell the people a little bit about that. I mean, that's awesome that dogs can actually go out and find sheds for you.
That's one of the fastest growing things, especially in shed hunting here. A lot of it's the guys that have their bird dogs. They want to get them active this time of year, and it's a great activity to get their dogs in shape after the winter when they sit around doing nothing. But they're very successful with it. And you can train a dog to sniff out anything. So the concept is there. But there's Doug and Katie Coleman from out west. They have their dog Cowboy a few years ago, and actually, if you look at the record books, there's actually some shed entries under Cowboy Coleman, and he would always send his records. He said, if Cowboy found it, I'm going to put him in the record book under his name. But his concept was very, very simple. And he took that dog with him everywhere he went. And if he found a shed, he brought that dog to it. And as soon as that dog recognized it and basically showed that it was there, he gave it a treat. And it didn't take very long. And he had to figure out exactly what he had to do with it. The chew toys, they use antlers for chew toys, non-stop nuts. That's a big part of that industry of selling these antlers. And like I said, it's a pretty simple concept when you think about it.
Right. Now, what I've got some guys. Do you find more sheds, say, driving field edges on a four-wheeler versus walking through the timber, or vice versa? What do you?
We got a really good slogan. We found a bumper sticker years ago, and it says, "Use the quads that God gave you." I think it's one of the greatest lines. We got four-wheelers. We actually just buying a UTV. We're excited about that. It was funny out west on the one ranch we went. My son Theron picked up a really nice record book 4-point muley shed, and it was fresh from this year, beautiful color, and it was laying probably not more than 15 feet off of a 2-track that had four-wheeler tracks all over it. So it's, I'm not saying you're not going to find them on a four-wheeler, you can cover some ground, but a lot of the concept of these guys, I guess if you're up in Saskatchewan and you're driving the wheat fields and things like that, where you got to cover a lot of ground, it's probably not a bad concept, but we like hiking. We like getting out, using our feet. The biggest thing is it's great exercise, gets you out of the house. Cabin fevers had set in, so we're dying to get out and walk. And it's amazing the things we find that would not have been found on a four-wheeler.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm sure the farmers appreciate that too, because I know farmers every year that end up with sheds and tractor tires, and that's an expense they don't like to have, for sure.
This is one I'll show you real quick. This was a local farmer brought this one into us. I'll show you the picture here. You can probably see it. That's the antler stuck right through the tractor tire. And this little tiny antler ruined that great big tractor tire. So yeah, there's that's an ongoing issue all the time.
Right. Now, are you kids turkey hunters as well?
Yeah.
And when's your season start? Is it starting this weekend or?
Yeah, youth on Saturday.
Is that right? Are you ready to go? Are you excited?
I am really excited for that.
I have, and I've been fortunate that I've hunted a lot of different states, and I start turkey hunting in March, and I don't stop until end of May. But right now here in Iowa, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit, but they're tough right now, believe it or not. And our season just opened, but I've hunted Wisconsin, and maybe some of you guys know Tom Interbo up in Buffalo County there.
Outfitters. Yep.
And I've hunted with Tom's place a lot of times, but Wisconsin has some phenomenal turkey hunting. And you know, I remember years ago, and I've been hunting it for quite a few years, but I don't know why it worked this way, but the residents would always be upset with me because it seemed that non-residents, me as a non-resident, I drew tags more often than some of your residents did back in the day. And I'm sure that's all changed now. And now you can get multiple tags. But Wisconsin's a great state to turkey hunt. So you got to be excited.
Yeah, we're the big flock that we had by the house has kind of moved on somewhere. The land's got some work to do these next couple days to figure out where they went.
Yep. So, all right. Well, guys, listen, I'm gonna talk just a little bit of turkey hunting, and I encourage you to stay on. And if you need to jump in, by all means, feel free to. Let me ask you this before we change subjects. So, are you any of you bow hunt turkeys?
Never bow hunted turkeys. No.
Okay.
No.
And do you hunt out of a blind?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, those that and Landon, how old were you? I forget what you said.
12 right now.
Okay. All right. So kids, I mean, in my opinion, you know, first of all, it's important to get kids just involved in the outdoors in general, whatever it might be. But turkey hunting is a fantastic sport if you're a single parent or maybe you don't even hunt and you've got some kids that have a little bit of interest. I mean, it's great to get them out fishing, but take them turkey hunting because they will absolutely love it. And you know, there's so many instructional things out there to kind of teach you the right direction. When I started turkey hunting back in the 70s, there was nobody in my area that knew anything about it. So I learned how to turkey hunt off of a lot of mistakes that I made over the years in the turkey woods. And I've been turkey hunting. I shot my first one in 78. And let me tell you, I still make mistakes in the turkey woods, but you got to learn from your mistakes. So you boys, have you shot turkeys before, either one of you?
No.
I have not. No.
No, they're both looking to get their first one this year. So
No, I hope you do because it's a great feeling and you'll really enjoy it. And you'll probably be like me, you'll be hooked on it. And 40 years from now, you'll be looking back and you'll never forget that first turkey that you shoot. So, but I'm going to talk just a little bit about what's going on in my turkey woods. Is there anything else you guys want to say before I change the subject?
if you want to give me a little quick wrap up here on the shed on things, you know, one of the things we talked about, you know, with the tips, I mean, it's a pretty simple concept. I had to give one big tip out there for everybody. Deer are no different than human beings. We have our refrigerator and we have our couch and we have that trail in between. That's what I've always told people. They'll find those feeding areas, find those bedding areas, work those trails back and forth. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, the biggest thing is your scouting. And that's what we talk about Alpen Optics. I've been involved with them for over 15 years. And, you know, your optics are so important during scouting season. So that couple weeks before shed season really cranks up when they're still carrying their antlers. Take some time to get out and look for deer, but do it at a distance. Do not disrupt their patterns. Do not put added stress onto their winter patterns. And like I said, if you can find where those bucks are hanging out, because they will, you know, the bucks and does do separate during those late months in the winter. So you know, just because you're seeing a lot of deer, you might not be in an area where there's any sheds at all. So try and find out where the bucks are wintering and concentrate in those areas. Find their food source, find their bedding areas, and work those patterns back and forth on their trails. And put some time in. It's a great activity. Get the kids out there. They said we just went to Montana. We had 4 adults. John and Missy Gaza, Drake's mom and dad, and Drake took his siblings with him, and Landon and his 3 brothers, and so we had 4-year-olds hiking the hills in Montana looking for antlers. Just a great family time and some memories that we'll never forget.
That's what it's all about right there. What power binoculars do you recommend? I mean, what do you think?
You know, 10 powers are probably the best. But like I said, anything to just give you a little extra edge there. The Western states is really important to have good optics. You can see so far out there. Here in the Midwest, I always tell people, don't look off in the distance, look at the ground. Because that's what happens is you start looking where I'm going to put that tree stand up, or what the farmer put on his field last year, and instead you're walking right past the shed because you got so much undergrowth. But you get to the Western states, you can see so far, and so many of those hillsides, there's very little cover on them, and once they bleach out, they really do stand out. And optics are so great that it saves us old guys a lot of steps, walking through those canyons. And Drake's dad had us hike down across the canyon because he said there's a big shed laying over there. Of course, he didn't have binoculars with him, and Drake beat me down to it, thinking we were going to find something huge. It was a beautiful white piece of wood. So it was a big branch buck, they call those, right?
Yeah. So, hey, good shed hunters are like good mushroom hunters. It's amazing. I can spot a mushroom like that, but I'll have buddies of mine that are standing over them and they just don't see them. And I remember a buddy of mine, Pat Reed from over in Minnesota. We were driving down the highway one time and he spotted a shed out in the field. I don't know how he did. And just driving right by, backed up and went out and picked it up. So, but anyways, okay, guys, I want to thank you guys for joining us on the show. And I want to move on and talk about the weekly specials. So hang on there for a minute and I'll get back to you. But this week's weekly special is actually Tom's favorite binocular, and I actually have a pair right here. But it's the Alpen Apex 10x42. Okay, it's got great glass, great coatings. The normal price of these binoculars, okay, is $339.99. Okay, on the Hunt special is going to be half price, which brings it to $170. So from $339.99 down to $170. And all you have to do is get on bresserusa.com or Alpen's website, type in On the Hunt, small casing, no spacing, and you will get the special. Now the keyword, I'm just reading off this papers here. Select keyword of 617. I'm not sure, but that'll make sense once you get on there. But then again, enter the hunting code On the Hunt. It'll automatically. Product number, keyword 617. Okay, that's what that is. So anyways, the Alpen Apex 10x42s, and I mean, first of all, I love all the optics, but this is certainly a good pair, and half price. You're not going to get a better deal on that. But guys, I want to thank you, and I want to wish you guys the best of luck on your upcoming youth hunt. And I will tell you this, being an experienced turkey hunter, that patience is the key to success. And whoever's going with you, Tom, I'm assuming you're taking them out.
Yep, and I got a good friend of mine that's a really good caller. He just loves to be out there calling turkeys. So we have to take Jared Finucane, a little shout out for Jared. Jared along with us hopefully this weekend, and hopefully have some success. So.
Well, that's good. I mean, so you boys make sure you listen to your mentors as they're out there telling you why they're doing things and what the reasoning is, and just to enjoy the experience. But if you have any luck, make sure you send us some photos. I'd love to see them, and I'll send something back to you in return if you send us a couple of success photos. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Hunt with Alpen Optics. And our next week's guest, I believe, is Brenda Dugan, and she's from Minnesota. And folks, we appreciate you coming along with us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
You know, good optics are a must for a hunter, particularly binoculars, not only during hunting season, but times like this when it's time to start scouting. But there's one thing you need to do when you get your binoculars that a lot of people don't realize. You need to set them up for yourself. Everybody's eyes are a little bit different. And here's how I do it. It's simple and easy. Just take the binoculars and just kind of grab good focus on an object. And I go and put my hand over the left lens. The diopter ring, which is on the right side, I will go ahead and adjust that until that right eye is in focus. Once it is, I take the hand off the other side, both eyes in focus, and you're ready to go. It's simple and easy, and it's a must that you do this before you go out and use them. You know, here we are midsummer here in Iowa, and I'm just out doing some scouting, glassing deer, kind of taking an inventory of what I've got, and doing it from a distance. I've got one of the new Alpen spotting scopes. It's a 20 by 60, but one of the things I really like about this, it comes with a tripod, and it's got micro adjustments, so it's real easy to zoom in and move around and find those animals. But basically, this is a great tool to help me manage the farm all year round. If you're looking for a great way to do some scouting, do it in the evening from a distance with a nice spotting scope. Let's talk a little bit about Alpen and Bresser optics. Now, they have a full line of optics, but what I want to talk to you now about is rangefinders. They have several different varieties of handheld rangefinders and the new bow rangefinder. Now, for you bow hunters, you go ahead and sight in at 20 yards and you calibrate it to your 20-yard pin, and when you're at full draw, whatever you're pointing that 20-yard pin on an object, it'll tell you the yardage. So whether you like a handheld or you want to put one on your bow, we have both options for you here at Alpen and Bresser Optics.